So welcome everyone to class 26 of the Biblical Foundation in Genesis, the book of beginnings. One of the most incredible books in all the Bible. So we're studying in the review of the post-garden economy and its first generations. And so we're finishing up and finishing up of Genesis chapter 4. So let's start, please, with Pedro. Can you read Genesis 4:19 in English, please? Genesis 4:19.
And Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other Zillah.
Excellent English pronunciations of those names. Very good, Pedro.
Thank you.
Okay, let me try the Portuguese. E tomou Lameque para si duas mulheres. O nome de uma era Ada e o nome da outra Zillah. Okay, so let's go. Lucas, can you please read question A in English?
Lamech, Cain's great-great-grandson, rebelled against what?
Very nice. One slight, it's a great. You made it sound a little bit like greet, so it's great. Very good. Okay, so who remembers? So what did Lamech rebel against?
Against the Lord's commandment to be only one man and one woman.
Absolutely right.
Monogamy.
Yep. Monogamous marriage. Okay, there's a mouthful. Monogamous marriage, the only kind of marriage that God allows. Very good. And so, Emily, can you please read Genesis 2:24 in English?
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
Okay. Very good. Let me try that in Portuguese. Portanto, deixará o homem o seu pai e a sua mãe, e pegar-se a sua mulher, e serão ambos uma carne. Okay, so it says, cleave unto his wife, not singular, not his wives, and they will be one flesh. As I joked last time, Pedro and Lucas, don't be sad that one day you're going to have to say goodbye to your father and mother, okay? One day, far in the future.
Yes.
Okay.
But still we will see them.
You can still see them, yes.
We will not see all the days.
That's right. Hopefully you'll be living in a separate house. So praise the Lord. Okay, so let's see. That was Emily. And now, Monica, can you please read Genesis 4:22 in English?
Okay. Sorry. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal Cain, Tubal Cain, and pieces in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah.
Very good. Now, probably that's in English. It's you said Tubal, but then Tubal Cain. So the English pronunciation is Cain. Tubal Cain. Okay. And let me try here and the Portuguese. I'm sorry. 4:22. E Zilá também deu à luz a Tubal-Caim, mestre de toda a obra de cobra e ferro. E a irmã de Tubal-Caim foi Noema.
One suggestion.
Yes.
Cobre.
Cobre.
I think you said cobra.
Ah, cobre. Thank you. Yeah, much better. Yeah. Cobra, not the same thing. Thank you,
And
Pedro.
also
You're
towards
welcome.
the end is nama. I think you said noema, noama.
Ah, okay. But then
No,
are
Lima.
you reading
Lima.
from
Lima.
the ACF Bible? It's
No, sorry.
Correct. Very good.
okay. That's why we want to be on the same Bible. So okay. So very good. And then that gets to those Emily. So all right, Eduardo's up, but okay, you'll Danny first and then Eduardo. So Danny, can you please read question B in English?
How does this verse contradict evolutionary human development theories?
Excellent. Danny is so confident. Did you hear how confident she is? She's like a bam, 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 bam.
I try my best, but I'm not so confident.
Very good.
Here now.
Okay, you see, 1 or 2 classes and she's already like, whoa, oh, this is great. Okay.
Now I'm also watching films in English and lettering in English and subtitles in English.
Excellent.
And it's also good to practice.
Well, we can see. Good for you. Okay, so who wants to answer question B? How does this verse contradict evolutionary human development in theories? Development theories. And we're talking about verse 422. So why did I show you verse 422? Remember, we jumped over some verses, and so I'm just now picking a few of interest. Does Pedro remember? What were the words of interest? I think you knew it last class. The words of interest in verse 22.
That here just is talking about the brass and iron.
Absolutely
And-
right.
And as the evolutionists, as they think, it took very much time.
Exactly right. That they think it was thousands of years between man's working with brass and then iron. And in fact, before then, they thought it took many thousands of years before brass. And the first age they call the Stone Age. Okay, so remember, it's like the Flintstones and Bam Bam, like wood clubs and stone wheels to their car. and then came the brass and then the iron age. Okay, so absolutely right. Thank you, Pedro. Okay, Eduardo, can you please read Genesis 4:23 in English, please?
And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and young man to my hurt.
Very
Huh.
good. Very good, Eduardo. Amazing. I think after the words Zila, I think it's hear my voice. So I think you said something a little different
Hear my voice.
here, and that's good. It's not clear in English. It probably is Ada. Remember,
Ada.
yeah, remembering that in English the emphasis is up front instead of Ada. Ada. So very good.
Ada.
Let me try that in Portuguese with all of the old names pronounced differently. So, e disse Lameque a sua mulheres, Adá e Zilá, ouvi a minha voz, vós, mulheres de Lameque, escutai as minhas palavras, porque eu matei homem por me ferir e jovem por me pisar. So in Portuguese, should it be Ada or Ada?
Ada.
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 Okay, okay, thank you. There's no accent over the A at the end. So then, okay, thank you. All right, so there we are. English and Portuguese agree. Amazing. Okay, so let's go. Thank you, Eduardo. So the next now is Pedro. Can you read question C, please, in English?
This is the second recording of what event in human history?
Very good. Spoken with confidence. I think you're being influenced by Danny. Very good. Okay,
Thank you.
so who wants to answer? So this is the second recording of what event in human history?
Oh, Cain, right? Cain and Abel.
Right. And so, and what is the event itself? So what did Cain, what was the name of the act? What did Cain do to Abel?
I don't know the word in English. So
Well, kill is one of the verb, or murder. Okay. And murder is good because it's both it can be a verb and the noun. So it's the second recording of murder.
Recording. But how can we say homicídio in English?
It's very much the same. It's homicide. Okay.
Homicide.
But we don't say that's like a police term, homicide. When we say someone was murdered or killed, we don't say they were homicided. No. It's like a homicide. But even that, it's kind of a technical term. So kill, but murder is the one that's really most common. Now, remember, in Jewish tradition, they say in Jewish tradition that Lamech killed his great-great-grandfather Cain. All right, against God's protection. So, but that's just Jewish tradition. Who knows? So next is Lucas. Can you please read question D in English?
What are the descendants of Cain known as?
Known as.
Known as.
Very good. Okay, so who remembers?
The Canaanite.
That's right. Or, yeah, I think that's, in English, we often have two different pronunciations. So you said Canaanites, and it could be Canaanites as well.
Canaanites. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so very good. And let's see, we switched order a little bit. So, because Pedro and Lucas, so let's see, then we'll go, Emily, can you please read question E in English?
What land is named after them?
Okay.
The land of Canaan.
Canaan.
It's a tough one. All these old names. It's in English, Canaan.
Canaan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Even though there's like two A's, so it's a strange looking word, but it's Canaan. All right, but that sounds like Cain to me. So there's a land. And then Monica, can you read question F in English?
Okay. Who eventually would be sent to possess the land?
Okay, very good. All right, so what famous person was sent to possess Canaan? And remember, there were giants on the land of Canaan still at that time. Not an easy task. Eventually. All right. So who was the person?
I think Moses.
Well, Moses was sent back. Well, I'm sorry, I think I confused you all. So who was told originally to leave where you are, the land of Ur, and go to the land I have promised for you? So the original person who was sent. Because yes, Pedro, Moses was sent so they would return to the land. Okay, but who was the first person originally sent to possess the land?
Abraham.
Adam.
Yeah, absolutely right, Pedro. I think I heard Pedro and Lucas together, perhaps. Very good. Okay, Abraham. Very good. All right, so now, Eduardo, can you read Genesis 4:25 in English, please?
And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son, and called his name Seth. For God said, she hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew.
Very good. Slew is correct. Thank you, Eduardo. A few suggestions. In the top line, it says she bare a son. And so remember there's that silent E, and then the A, the vowel before the silent E is more open. So bear. And
Bear.
down below, and then on the after seed in the second line, it's instead.
Instead.
Okay, whom Cain slew. Very good, thank you. Let me try that in Portuguese. E tornou Adão a conhecer a sua mulher, e ela deu à luz filho e chamou o seu nome Sete. Sete. É, porque disse ela, Deus me deu outro filho em lugar de Abel, porquanto Caim o matou. Okay, so Sete is pronounced like the number?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good, thank you. I was like, all right. And so now that, and I remember that interestingly, Seth, most names in the Old Testament have a meaning, and they're not always clear, but we've seemed to have recovered many of the old meanings, and Seth means substitute. Okay, which makes sense. So Eve was very happy to have a substitute, because Abel was the good son who was killed, and Cain was sent in exile, and so she gave birth to Seth. Thank God, because all of us are descended from Seth, I would guess. So back to Danny. Can you please read question D in English?
G, right?
G as in girl.
What are the descendants of Seth known as?
Okay, very good. The pronunciation is up front, so it's descendants.
Descendants.
Yeah, in the middle, descendants.
Thank you. I think it's Enos.
Well, but that might be getting, no, I think that's one of the descendants. But in general, the descendants of Seth have a name that actually is derived from his name.
What?
Okay. So it's not very similar, but it's an interesting name. Does someone remember?
Semites.
I'll say exactly right, Pedro. Okay, the Semites. And it's from this word that we get anti-Semite and anti-Semitism. Okay, so in that sense, the Semites are, it's the Jewish line. Okay, so praise the Lord. The Semites were descended from Seth and not from Cain. So let's continue now with some new material. And the next would be Genesis 5:1. So we're on to chapter 5 of Genesis. So Emily, can you please read the first verse?
This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him.
Thank you, beautifully pronounced. Este é o livro das gerações de Adão, no dia em que Deus criou o homem, a semelhança de Deus o fez.
Ben, you're back now.
Okay, oh, sorry, I froze. All right, let me try it again.
Please.
Este é o livro das gerações de Adão, no dia em que Deus criou o homem, a semelhança de Deus o fez.
Semelhança.
Semelhança. Thank
Perfect.
Okay, with that nice, there it is, with that nice LH. Okay, very good reminder. Thank you. Monica, can you please read question 1 in English?
Okay. Does the use of the word the book suggest these are oral histories?
Very well pronounced. Thank you. Okay, so it's a trick question, perhaps, but in Genesis 5:1, it starts with, this is the book of the generations of Adam. So my question is the use of the phrase, the book, suggests that these are oral histories?
I think maybe they are passed from generation onward through stones, like you said.
Absolutely. Okay, Emily, you've jumped to the answer of the next 3 questions.
Okay. I remembered your class.
Okay, thank you. The Bible history class. Okay,
Yeah.
so great. Thank you. I'm so delighted that you paid attention during that class. I'm honored.
And
Can you
also-
say again, please, Emily? Can you say again?
We do. We need
But
to do it. Yes?
To say again what I said.
No,
Yes,
no.
please.
I said stones, passed down from stones.
Pass down from stones.
Okay, so the answer to the question directly is no. Okay, using the phrase the book does not suggest these are oral histories. Okay, and then Emily is saying, well, what kind of history was it? If it wasn't oral, just passed down orally, then how was it passed down? And let's see, because it's an important question. All right, because to get at all sorts of things about the very beginning of humankind. So let's go now in the order I'm seeing. Let's go Lucas and then Pedro. Lucas, can you please read question 2 in English?
Generations is an important word repeated 10 times in Genesis. Why is it so important?
Very well pronounced. Thank you, Lucas. Just great. So, all right. So generations is an important word repeated 10 times in Genesis. Why do you think it's so important? Why am I emphasizing this word?
Generations, because I think it's because Genesis is the first book of the Bible, so it's the beginning. So that's important to be generations, people who are after
Another, one after another.
Another. One
Okay.
after another. Yes. And also to Jesus come again
Mhm.
through these generations.
Excellent. Okay. So I agree with you entirely, Danny. I think you're also speaking of the importance of genealogy.
Genealogy.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because there are many prophecies about Jesus, and the genealogies prove that Jesus is the fulfillment of the prophecies and is the Messiah. And that's a very good point on genealogies. What you said about generations and the book of Genesis is important. And here's one reason. Do you know that the word Genesis it comes from Greek? That's a Greek word. And what does it mean? Generations. Okay, so the name of the book is Generations. Okay, I froze again. Oh, I'm back. Okay, so Genesis already is an important word because it's synonymous with generations. And another, if it's repeated 10 times in Genesis, okay, each time it is used, it implies that an original record was created and passed down to Moses. Okay, so the genealogy lists that is one generation after another generation. Lists are given 10 times in Genesis, and it implies that there was recording of the generations in a book. Okay, and the books or evidence was given most likely to Moses. So let's look at the next verse, and that would be Pedro. Can you please read Exodus 1:1?
Now these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob.
Okay, Jake, and it's Egypt.
Egypt.
Yeah, thank you. So let me try this in Portuguese, if my Bible's pages will open. Yes. E estes, pois, são os nomes dos filhos de Israel que entraram no Egito com Jacó. Cada entrou com sua casa. Okay, and there follows a list. So this is quite similar, and we can go ahead and read now question 3, and that would be up to Eduardo. Eduardo, can you please read question 3 in English?
Begins with a similar listing, written by whom?
By whom? Now, it's written. And when you see those 2 T's, so the 2 T's are to help signal. If it was RIWRIT 1 TEN, then maybe it would be written. But the 2 T's are to let you know that it's not an open I, but a closed one. So written. Okay. So Exodus 1:1 begins with a similar listing of generations, written by whom?
Forgot the name of Moses. Moses. Moses.
No. Okay. Does Lucas know? What's the name of that gentleman in English? It's a Bible scholar question.
Yeah.
In English.
Okay, maybe Maybe Pedro can help Lucas.
Exodus.
Say it again. And you know what?
Exodus.
Sometimes the answer is in the next line. Okay, the next line. You see question
Moses.
4, Moses. Okay. Okay, so there it is. All right, so Exodus
Then-
1:1 was written by Moses. And let's go to the next question. And that would be Eduardo. So Danny, can you please read question 4?
Mhm. What does this imply about Moses' authorship of the Pentateuch?
That's hard. It's in English, it's Pentateuch.
Pentateuch.
Okay, very good. All right, so Moses is writing a similar list of generations in Exodus 1:1. So that would be the 11th time in the Bible that there is a list of generations and names. And so what does it imply about Moses' authorship of the Pentateuch? Emily kind of already answered this question earlier. She anticipated this question.
Mhm.
Okay, so how did Moses get all of this information? If he indeed was the one who put in a written book
Mhm. The
all of
rock.
this information. Yeah, so but where did he get it from? Perhaps
From
from
the
stone.
patriarchs.
Sorry?
Stone.
From maybe the patriarchs passed down. I remember that.
Exactly.
I think the Henry Morris Bible. I read it in the Henry Morris Bible.
You're absolutely right. And that's I believe that as well. So that it's most likely that stone tablets. Okay, so each time someone says, and this is the book of the generations, the 10 times they say that in Genesis, except the first, because the first is about the book of creation. But the generations of the creation, but the rest are then by patriarchs, and they put their name on the bottom of the list in a stone tablet, apparently, and gave it to Moses. And how long did Moses have in the desert to actually write all of this, put all of this into writing, the Pentateuch?
40.
Absolutely right, 40 years.
40.
So to write 5 books in 40 years, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
The stone. The stone, right?
Well, we don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? I suspect, remember, he was in Egypt. And so, okay, here's a good question. In Egypt, what did they write on? Did they write on stones?
No. Yeah.
Let's go ahead, Pedro.
Papyrus.
Papyrus.
Oh, I miss papyrus. Well, I think Pedro was saying it too. It's papyrus, right? Those tall, like sugar cane. They're tall reeds in the swamp, and on that they put together papyrus.
What is a swamp?
Ah, good question. Does anyone else know what a swamp is? There's a swamp here going from Tiradentes up to the top of the Serra. The name of the trail is the answer to Emily's question. What is a swamp in Portuguese? Well, because I like to answer in English. So a swamp is a body of water with lots of things in it, including reeds.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so it's usually stiller water.
Uh-huh.
And it has lots of things growing in it.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, and sometimes it's muddy.
Ah, okay. Thank you.
Gladly. Okay, so that's the Trilha do Mangue.
Ah, okay.
All right. So, and then Emily again was answering all of the next questions at once. She sometimes does this to us. So, in fact, question 5. Well, let's take it down to Pedro. Can you read question 5, please, in English?
What is the first recorded form of writing in the Bible?
Okay. So, what do you think, Pedro?
It's the language.
Okay. Language is the medium for writing, but a recorded form. So recorded form is you write on what? That's the recorded form. The first recorded form of
I don't
writing.
know.
Well, actually,
I don't
because
know.
here, go ahead, Pedro.
I don't know the word in English.
Okay, can you describe it without going to the Portuguese?
I will describe. It's paper that is rolled.
Very good.
It is a roll.
Okay, you see, that's excellent. So instead of going to the Portuguese, you describe it in English, and we already know what you're talking about. It's a scroll. Okay, when you go into a Jewish synagogue, they have the Torah, or the Pentateuch in a large scroll, and they carry the large scroll. Okay, but I think the answer to the first recorded form of writing in the Bible, where it's clear, it tells us this is how it was, the letters were put down. It was on stone tablets, okay, with the 10 commandments. Okay, so the very first recorded writing in the Bible is actually done with God's finger. Okay, so given that we're thinking that Moses received stone tablets, and that was how, and he took them with him to the desert for 40 years, and he used them along with the Holy Spirit to help him write the Pentateuch, okay, which is, of course, the first 5 books of the Bible, also called the Torah by Jewish people, the Torah. All right, so we're coming up now. That was Pedro. So Emily, can you please read Genesis 5:2 in English?
Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created.
Thank you, very nice. Homem e mulher os criou, e os abençoou, e chamou o seu nome Adão, no dia em que foram criados. Okay, Monica, can you please read question 6, which is it's a joke question, but please go ahead and read it for us.
Okay. To declare that God called their name Adam. The curious construction. Does it imply, as today's
Usage.
usage of their does, that Adam was neither male nor female?
Oh, okay, and it's Adam.
Adam.
Adam. Okay. What do you think? So it's a curious construction. It says that God called their name Adam. He didn't say his name, Adam. Their name, Adam. Now, does it imply, because today we use the third person, no, plural when we don't know if someone is male or female. So it's like, it's like there instead of he or she or it. Okay, the common usage now is to say their, plural, because that includes both males and females. But it's also now used for transgender. Anyway, so does it imply, as today's usage of there does, that Adam was neither male nor female?
No, never.
I hope not. Okay, it's a funny construction, but I already, as I said, their plural is for it to encompass male and female. But why they said called their name Adam and didn't say called their name Adam and Eve, I don't know. I don't know.
I think it is because Adam, in the language of the Jews, means man, means the man including male and female.
Oh, excellent. Good idea. Good suggestion, Pedro. I like that. I think that's
Thank
very
you.
good. Very good.
I think that
So,
makes sense.
yeah. Someone told me, a leader of my Bible study in Miami also told me that Adam has again, it has another meaning, whether it's Hebrew or I'm not sure, but it's like red dust. Okay, the color red, which he liked to say that the first man was not white and pale like all of us, but more like a red Indian. And if Adam, if as many people say, if Brazil is heaven on earth and the garden and God is Brazilian and the Garden of Eden was in Brazil, the ground is all red. You have very red soil. So it would make sense, right?
Yes.
Okay,
And
go ahead, Pedro.
in my Bible, says that Adam, that means man, is very, very equal, is absolutely the same of earth, of dust. Is it looks like the same in Hebrews. Hebrew
Okay.
is correct.
Excellent. Again, we have another Bible scholar in the class. Fantastic, Pedro. So
Thank you.
I'm learning myself. So not only does Adam signify man, but also obviously he came from dust, and so it makes sense that his name also signifies dust. And my Bible study teacher said it's red dust. So it must be Brazilian dust, right? Very red soil here. And why is Brazilian soil so red? Do we have a geologist in our class?
Because of iron.
Absolutely right. Very good. Okay, Emily is our local scientist, and that's absolutely right. So it has lots of iron, and so it's red. You go up into the Serra, into the mountains here, and the streams are reddish because of the amount of, particularly in the winter, with little water, it's red from all the iron content. Okay, so we're going to finish things up now. We're coming up to the end of the class. So let's see, that was Emily, Monica. Okay, so Eduardo, can you please read Genesis 5:3 in English?
And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth.
Very good. One correction, and Adam lived. Now,
Live.
English is irregular, and you were respecting what I just was saying, that, okay, if there's one consonant, then maybe the E is silent, and that turns it like lived, but it isn't. Okay, so it's lived. So English is irregular. Danny. Oh, I have to read this in Portuguese. E Adão viveu 130 anos e gerou filho, a sua semelhança, conforme a sua imagem, e pôs-lhe o nome de Sete. Okay, so we're now repeating a little bit of history. And Danny, can you please read question 7 in English?
7. That Adam begat a son after his image. Is that significant?
Very good. Well pronounced. Thank you. What do you think?
Yes. Because after Cain and Abel, Seth is a good representative.
Exactly right.
Of a newborn, of a new generation, that they start praise the Lord. How can I say that here in Genesis? Because after the Seth born.
Yeah.
Thank you. They started to Seth also.
Okay, I lost a little bit of that.
Mhm.
But I agree with you. I agree with you. So it is significant. What does that remind you of? What was the last time the Bible says after his image?
Is that significant?
Okay. It's after someone else's image. And it's at the very beginning of Genesis.
God's image.
Exactly.
God.
So he made man in his image. Okay.
Man,
so
as our image and
yeah, so it's an important verb. It's an important action. Now, obviously, Adam is not God, but Adam begat a son after his image. And so let's say after his best side, okay, the best part of Adam. So it's like Seth has a special dispensation. Okay, which is a big word, but a special dispensation, and he does. Okay, so oh, Lucas is back. Good to see you, Lucas. Can you please read Genesis 5:4, please?
In the days of Adam, after he had begotten Seth, were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters.
Beautifully pronounced. Even that word, that funny word, begotten. And you said that perfectly. Very nice. Let me try that in Portuguese. E foram os dias de Adão, depois que gerou a Sete, 800 anos, e gerou filhos e filhas. All right, so the last question is for Pedro. Can you please read question 8, Pedro, in English?
Why do you think Adam lived so long?
All right. What do you think? 800 years. Imagine that. That's a lot of water under the bridge.
For sure. I think it's because they need to put many people on earth,
Okay. Okay. So there, it's a
many
practical reason.
generations.
You're right. Okay, it's a practical reason. Yeah. God said, you know what? You have to procreate. Remember, he said
Procreate.
it's the dominion mandate of Genesis 1:28. Go forth and multiply,
Mhm.
right? And fill the earth. So yes, on the practical side, God gave extra long lives so people could have lots and lots. And I mean, imagine Adam could have hundreds of children.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's one good reason. What's another reason? Is there a scientific reason why people could live so much longer?
Because of the things. So
Okay,
there's
well,
no lot of disease.
well, okay, but sin, remember, sin should have, they're all gonna die because of the original sin.
Okay,
But you're
they're
on
gonna
the,
die.
but you're in the
But
right, you're in the right direction, because what was the impact of original sin on the human body?
Disease.
Absolutely right. And what's
Mhm.
another way? What happens to the genes when they are passed from generation to generation due to original sin? I'm sure
I
Emily
think,
knows, but does
okay.
Pedro, do you know what happens to the genes inside the body with original sin? How do the genes degrade? What's the name for genes degrading?
I think it's mutations.
Absolutely right. Okay. Good one, Pedro. Okay,
Thank you.
so here, so that it may be the answer. So original sin started the process of mutations, but Adam, he had no mutations in him, correct? He was made perfectly by God.
Mhm.
Okay, so he did not suffer from gene mutations. He suffered from original sin in other ways. That, for instance, he died eventually, but he did not suffer gene mutations. And so with each successive generation, lives got shorter and shorter and shorter. Remember, this is one reason why Adam's sons and daughters could marry.
Mhm.
Was very little gene mutation because it was only one generation. So Adam's children had a few gene mutations, and it was not a genealogical risk that they. Now, here, how about a scientific reason that has more to do with ecology, why they live so long? So, an ecological reason why they live so long.
Because it was in the pre-flood.
Exactly right. But what were the conditions of the pre-flood that were so positive or that led to long lives?
Maybe a vapor canopy.
Absolutely right. Okay, absolutely right. I'm not a scientist, but I've read that. It's a good explanation. Remember, we don't think there was rain before the flood. And there weren't clouds, there wasn't sun, clouds, changes. It was a consistent atmospheric haze. So a layer of humidity, and that layer of humidity, remember, a lot of moisture was up in the clouds, and the global flood, water came up from the ground, and also it rained for 40 days. So that layer of vapor, as Emily pointed out, was very heavy. And you know what it likely did? It protected people from the sun's ultraviolet rays, among other things. Okay,
Mhm.
so it was like living in a greenhouse. Okay, so you know how a greenhouse is good for plants?
Mhm.
Okay, so the pre-flood atmosphere was good for human beings. Okay, it encouraged longer lives. So excellent. So as usual, by the end of the class, I talk more. Okay, and so it now becomes English comprehension from speech only and not from what's on the pages or what I put into the chat. Okay, so thank you for your patience with a long English explanation. But isn't that interesting? We got three major reasons why people live so long, or three or four, right? Because very few gene mutations, the ecological, environmental conditions were terrific, and God needed long lives so they would procreate. Okay, which is to have children, so procreate. So very good. Does anyone have any questions or comments in English?
I have questions about Semitas,
Okay, please, Semites.
Semites. I
Please.
did understand the Semites are the descendants of Seth.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, exactly right. So Semites are descended from Seth. It should be Sethites, but it was changed. So for some reason, Semites are descendants of Seth. Okay, and that general term is now the same as Jewish. Descendants of, now not all descendants of Seth were Jewish, but that's where the Jews came from. So it's been borrowed, let's say, by the Jews. So Semites then are like a tribe principally made up of Jews. All right, hence the words like anti-Semite, meaning you hate Jews. Did that answer your question, Danny?
Now
Nope,
you're
I'm back. Did that answer your question, Danny?
Yes, but I need to study this. I need to understand this better.
Okay, it's not too clear, I agree, because
Yeah.
not everyone descended from Seth is Jewish. Okay, so it's confusing. But that is the Jewish line through Seth.
Jewish
And so
line,
for
okay.
some reason, Jews were given the name, or now is synonymous with Semite. Very good. Any
All
other
right,
questions?
thank you.
Gladly. Any other questions or comments in English?
I have a comment.
Please.
I remember that part of the patriarchs. It's patriarchs?
Yep, correct. Good term.
There is a video from Professor Marcus Everly. He's from the same church as Danny PPTV, and he talks about how the names of each patriarch, it forms a sentence if you put them together. And I found it here. Can I read it in Portuguese?
Of course. Well, then if we're going to go to Portuguese, I'm going to stop the recording.
Ah, okay.
Okay, but that's good. Let me just, thank you all